in a class, if you want to make use of a function, it has to be declared in the class either under private or public or protected access specifier. And again, if you observe this, the function names are same area, and these two are differ in their argument list. Here is only one argument, here there are two arguments, and it is a friend of a class. This is how you have to read it, understand this concept here. And the friend function declared within the class with the prefix friend. Dear students, welcome to Computer Science Revision classes. I am Ravi Kumar KR, lecturer in Computer Science, Vidhyaashram PU College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Students, let us start our revision class with the chapter Function Overloading, chapter number 8. Now, the weightage of the chapter is 6 marks, 1 5 marks question, and 1 in MCQ. So, total weightage of the chapter is 6 marks. Now, let us discuss the important concept in the chapter Function Overloading. So, here we are going to cover the definition of function overloading with example and inline function and friend function. Now, let us start with the introduction to function overloading. So, here the function overloading means two or more functions have same name but differ in the number of arguments of data type of argument. So, this is a definition of a function. Now, we know what is a function. So, we know how to declare a function and also with the parameter or without parameter. So, what is function overloading? The function overloading is the functions with there are two or more functions with the same name but differ in their arguments or parameter list. So, that is the definition of function overloading. Now, the C++ implements polymorphism through the function overloading and operator overloading. So, here with the now we have learned the features or characteristics of object-oriented programming. So, one of them is polymorphism. So, if we use the concept of function overloading, it means that we are implementing the OOPS concept polymorphism. And here please note down that it is also possible to have function overloading as well as operator overloading. Next one is it supports two types of overloading, that is function as well as operator overloading. The compiler automatically decides about the appropriate function to be called depending on the argument. So, here now we know the definition is functions are with the same name but only different in their argument list. So, while the compiler automatically identifies the type of function to be called or to be executed by looking at the argument list, or parameter list. For example, look at the example here. So, int sum and int a comma int b semicolon. So, this is one function, and here float sum, float comma float p comma float q semicolon. If you observe this here, there are two functions, one is sum. So, these are the function name sum. So, the definition is more than one function with the same function name but differ in their argument list or parameter list along with the data type of argument. That is important. So, here int a and int b. Here the first variable is the argument is a, data type int, second one is b, data type is int. So, in this example there are two parameters or two arguments of data type int. Now, consider second example here. Though sum is the name of the function, if you observe this, here also there are two arguments, but it is the data type is float here. So, this is float p comma float q. So, this is an example for function overloading. So, definition is in a program you can have two or more functions with the same name but differ in their argument list, that is with respect to the data type of arguments. So, this is the introduction to function overloading. Now, let us see what are all the advantages of function overloading. So, here first one is it reduces the complexity of the program. So, one of the advantages is that the problem can be simplified. Second one is the code or a program is executed faster. This is another advantage. It is easier to understand the flow of information and debug. So easy for debugging as well as flow of information. Code maintenance is easy and easier in interface between the program and real world object. Now we have seen the object oriented programming. One of the features is that we are going to connect real world object into programming. So by two different interfaces. So with the help of this concept, it is possible for us to interface the program with the real world object. So these are all advantages of function overloading. And again, each function is a set of overloaded functions must have different argument list. So this is the condition or the feature of function overloading. And here if type diff is used for naming a function, the function is not considered as different data type. It considered as the same data type. So this is the restriction of overloaded function. In the next slide, next one is function declaration. As all of you know that in a class, if you want to make use of a function, it has to be declared in the class either under private or public or protected access specifier. So similarly, function also has to be declared inside the class. So the overload a function, each overloaded function must be declared and defined separately. So here we know that in function overloading, there are more than two functions with the same name. So accordingly, we have to declare all the functions with different parameter list, and please note down that, and all the function has to be defined, or we have to write the function definition separately for each and every overloaded function. Now for example, look at the example here. Now class function, this is the name of the class, is a function, and under public access specifier, we have a function int product, int p, q, and int r semicolon. So this is function declaration inside the class. So this is function declaration. Again, look at one more example, next function here. So a float product, and here float x, float y, float z. Now if you observe these two functions, there are two functions with the same name as a product but differ in their argument list with respect to the data types of argument. Here int data type and this is float data type. So this is also a function declaration. Now we know that in function declaration, we have to write the function definition, or either it can be inside the class definition, or we can write the function definition even outside the class. That is what you have seen in our previous session. So this is the declaration of overloaded function inside the class. In the next slide, now let us see definition of overloaded function, nothing but function definition. So how do we write function definition? In the previous slide, this is declaration of the function inside the class. Now we have to write the function definition outside the class. So accordingly, it is int function. This is a function is name of the class. Here if you observe this, this is name of the class, and here scope resolution operator. This is what you have learned in our previous classes. Scope resolution operator, then product. So this is name of the function with the parameter list. So then open the bracket and write the code or statement. This is body of the function, function definition, or body of the function. Here we are writing a statement written product equals p into q into r. Product of three variables or three arguments. This is, we are closing the function here. So this is function definition. It is defined outside the class through scope resolution operator. Next function we have to, as we have seen, declared one more function. There is a float product with three arguments. This one also has to be defined outside the class. Again, function int function, name of the class with the operator float product, and this is a function, and open the bracket. This is the body of the function. So here product is x, y, z. In this example or in this function, in this function the arguments are p, Q, and R. So this is how we have to define the function outside the class, and for each and every function overloaded has to be defined or declared separately. In the next slide, how do we calling a function, or how do we invoke a function? Now we know how to declare a function. We have written the definition of a function. Next one is we have to call the function, or we have to invoke the function. And it is in this example how to invoke overloaded function. In the void main section, the main function, first step is declaration of an object. First one is nothing but creation of an object here. So function is name of a class f. Here f is an identifier. It represents an object of a class function. Next one is f object dot product 2, 3, 4. Here product is the name of the function what we have declared in the class, and there were 3 arguments. And if you observe that the first function, if you observe this, the first function, it is int data type. All the variable arguments are of data type int. We are supposed to enter integer value. In the second function, if you observe this, here all the arguments are of data type float. We are supposed to enter float data type or numbers of float data type. So accordingly, in the main function, we say f dot product 2, 3, 3. This is of data type int. And next one is semicolon. Next one is f dot product 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. So this is float data type. So accordingly, we have to close the main function. So this represents or invoking the first function of argument data type is int, and this represent or it's going to call the second function product of the arguments of the data type float. So this is how to invoke or call a function or calling overloaded function. Now in the next slide, let us write a program to find area of a square, rectangle and triangle using function overloading. Now let us write a small program to show the working of overloaded function. The program starts with the header files. Now class f overload. This is the class overload, name of the class. Under that we have private access specifier, variable is s, float s. Under public we have function int area. This is one of the function with one parameter, and this is return a into a. This is body of the function. So we are closing this here. So open the function here. We have closed the function here. Inside this we have body of the function. So this is area. This is function definition of first function. Now second function int area, int l comma int b. And again, if you observe this, the function names are same, area, and these two are differ in their argument list. Here is only one argument, here there are 2 arguments. And again, body of the function, return L into B. Now, in the next function, float area, area is the name of the function with the 3 arguments or 3 parameters. So here formula is this. This is the body of the function. Close, here we are closing the class with semicolon. So this is class definition. Next one is we have to write the main function. So void main, here open the bracket. So first line is function overload D, creation of an object of a class f overload. If you observe this, this is f overload is name of the class. So here name of the class space D. D is an identifier, or it is nothing but an object. Next one is we are using cout. The area of square equals D dot area of 4. Please observe this. What we have seen in the previous example, how to invoke or how to call overloaded function. Here D is the name of the object, dot area is name of the function, 4. So with only one argument. Now second one is area of rectangle, D dot area. There are 2 arguments here. And here D dot area, 3 arguments. So here if you observe this, name of the functions are same, it is area, and all these are differ in their arguments. So accordingly, whenever the compiler execute these statements, the control transfer from here to area function with one parameter. So accordingly, the control transfer to this function where it has only one argument or one parameter. So it executes this statement. Then after this comes to next statement, that is area. So as soon as the compiler comes to execute this statement, the control transfer from here to second function where there are two parameters. So in this example, it executes second one. So after completing this, it goes to next line. So similarly, this is how the compiler executes the overloaded function. So accordingly, this is the output of the example or output of the program function overloading. Now in the next slide, we will see next concept is inline function or another type of function. What is inline function? The inline function is a short function, and its compiler replaces a function call with body of the function. So this is a definition of inline function. It is a short function. Compiler replaces the function call statement with body of the function. Next, the keyword inline is used to define the inline function. Now, if you want to define the inline function, we have to make use of the keyword inline. So this inline is used to define the inline function. And it consists of function call along with the function code, and the process is known as expansion. Now, inline function definition starts with the keyword inline. Again, here we have to start with the inline, the keyword, to write the definition of a function. Next one is the inline function should be defined before the function that calls it. So this one you have to understand here. We have to, function has to be defined before it is calling or before it is called. Next one is the compiler replaces the function call statement with the function code itself. So that is the definition of inline function. And they run little faster than normal function, as the function calling overhead is saved or saved. So these are all the characteristics of inline function. Next, let us see what are advantages of inline function. So the inline member function or compact function calls. So means it is a compact function. Next one is the size of the object code is reduced. Because it is a compact function, short function, the size of the object code is reduced. And speed of execution of the program is increases. The speed increases means it runs the program or it runs fast. Next, very efficient code can be generated and the readability of the program increases. So these are all the advantages of inline function. Next, what are the drawback of this? Here, as the body of the inline function substituted in place of function call, size of the executable file is increases and more memory is needed. So in the previous slide, under advantage, we have seen that the size of the object code, size of the source code is less or reduced. But when you run the program, it is going to execute the object coding. So here, the size of the exe file will be increases and it takes more memory. So this is the drawback of or disadvantage of inline function. Next definition is friend function. Now let us see what are all friend functions. A friend function is a non-member function. So it is a non-member function, but it has the right to access all the private and protected members of the class. So please note down this. What is the friend function? It is a non-member function, and it has the rights to access private and protected members of a class. The friend function is a non-member function and it is a friend of a class. This is how I have to read it, understand this concept here. And the friend function declared within the class with the prefix friend. So how do we declare a friend function? Declared with the reserved word, keyword friend, but it should be defined outside the class. So like normal function. So friend function is a non-member function, should be declared inside the class with the reserved word friend, and it has to be defined or outside the class like normal function. It can access public data members like non-member function. So though it is a non-member function, it accesses the public members function of a class. So this is about a friend function. In the next slide, a friend function, although not a member function, has access to private and protected members of the class. Was same point that you have seen in the previous slide. A friend function cannot be called using object of the class. Normally we know how to invoke the function, what you have seen in the previous example, that is with the object name dot function name. So but here friend function cannot be called using the object of that class. It can be invoked like any other normal function. So we have to use it exactly as how we use normal functions in a program. They are normal external function and given the special access privilege. So in general we can say it is a non-member function, so that but it has given the additional access privileges. Now it cannot access the members variables directly and it has to use an object name, and it cannot access the members data variable directly, but it has to be used the object name. And here object name dot member name, here memberships operator. So this is the dot is a membership operator, and the function is declared with the keyword friend. So this is the function, and while defining, friend function does not use either keyword or scope resolution operator. So this is what you have seen so far. If you want to declare a function outside the class, normally we use the scope resolution operator. But in the case of friend function, we are not supposed to make use of the scope resolution operator or any other keyword friend while defining the function or defining the friend function. Students, so far in this session, we have discussed about the function overloading with example program, and also what are inline functions and friend function. Now let us continue our discussion in my next session. Thank you very much.